I never believed a single moment could rewrite an entire life, but that day proved me wrong. It started like any other ordinary morning. I was rushing through the financial district with a backpack full of deliveries, my phone vibrating non-stop with notifications from customers complaining about being late. The sidewalks were crowded with suits, briefcases, heels clicking against marble floors, and everyone looked like they were heading somewhere important. I felt invisible among them, just another worker trying to survive in a city that never slowed down. I checked my phone while walking, trying to read an address, and that was my mistake. I turned a corner too fast, and I slammed straight into someone. The impact was heavy enough to knock both of us off our feet. I felt the breath leave my lungs as I hit the ground, and for a second everything went silent. Then I heard it. A sharp, unnatural cracking sound. Not from the pavement. From a human arm. The man beside me screamed. Not just a shout of pain, but a sound filled with shock, terror, and agony all at once. People stopped walking. Phones dropped. Someone yelled for help. Another person shouted for an ambulance. I scrambled up on my knees, my heart hammering in my chest as I looked at the man I had crashed into. He was young, maybe in his early 20s, wearing an expensive suit that probably cost more than everything I owned combined. His face was pale, his jaw clenched, sweat already forming on his forehead. His right arm was bent at a horrible angle, and he was clutching it like his life depended on it. I'm so sorry, I said, my voice shaking. I didn't see you. I wasn't looking where I was going. I'm so sorry, please. He didn't answer me. He just kept breathing hard through his teeth, trying not to scream again. People gathered around us in a circle. Someone whispered, "Oh my God, that's him." Another voice said, "Isn't that the heir?" My blood went cold. I looked up. The whispers grew louder. "That's the younger son of Jin Corporation. That family owns half the city. We're in trouble now." My stomach dropped. I didn't even know who the Jin family was before that moment, but the fear in everyone's voices told me everything I needed to know. Black cars arrived within minutes, as if they had been waiting around the corner. Security men in dark suits pushed through the crowd, efficient and silent, lifting the injured man onto a stretcher and shielding him from cameras that had already started to appear. One of the guards looked at me. Not angry. Not emotional. Just cold. He scanned me from head to toe, memorizing my face. I felt like a criminal. I thought I was about to be arrested. Or sued. Or taken away somewhere I'd never return from. But none of that happened. They took the injured heir away. And they left me standing on the sidewalk. Alone. Surrounded by strangers staring at me like I had just committed a crime. I went home that night in a daze. I didn't remember the bus ride. I didn't remember unlocking my door. I only remembered the sound. That crack. That scream. And the look on the guard's face. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that I'm bending the wrong way. I imagined police knocking on my door. Lawyers calling me. News articles destroying my name. I imagined my life ending because I had looked at my phone for 1 second too long. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I stared at it for a long time before answering. "Hello." My voice sounded smaller than I wanted it to. "Is this the man involved in this afternoon's incident?" a woman's voice asked. It was calm. Professional. Cold. "Yes," I said quietly. "That's me. This is Jin Group Legal Affairs. Please confirm your identity." I did. There was a pause. Then she said, "You will receive an official summons tomorrow morning. Please be prepared." The line went dead. I sat on my bed staring at the phone in my hand. I felt numb. I felt stupid. I felt terrified. I didn't know what was coming. I just knew nothing in my life would ever be the same again. The next morning, a black car was waiting outside my apartment. Not a police car. Not an ambulance. Just a quiet, expensive black sedan. A man in a suit stepped out and opened the door for me. "Please," he said. "We've been instructed to escort you." I wanted to refuse. But my legs moved anyway. The car was silent on the inside. No radio. No conversation. Just the soft hum of the engine as we drove through streets I had never been to before. The city slowly changed around us. From old buildings to glass towers. From street food to luxury cafes. From noise to quiet. The Jin Group headquarters rose into the sky like something unreal. A tower of glass and steel that reflected the clouds above it. We entered through a private gate. Security scanned me. Elevators took me higher and higher. My ears popped. My heart pounded. When the doors finally opened, I stepped into a floor that felt more like a museum than an office. White walls. Soft light. Thick carpets. And at the end of the hall, a large wooden door. "This is as far as I go," the man said. I stood there alone. Took a breath. And knocked. A calm female voice answered. "Come in." I opened the door. And that was when I saw her. Standing near the window, looking out over the city, arms crossed behind her back. Jin Seon. The Ice Queen CEO. I didn't know her yet. But I could already feel something in my chest telling me that this woman was about to change everything. She didn't turn around when I entered. She stayed facing the window, watching the city below like it was a chessboard and every human on it was a piece she already understood. I stood there awkwardly, not sure if I was allowed to speak. The silence felt heavy. Finally, she said, "You can sit if you want." Her voice was calm, smooth, and distant. I sat down slowly on the chair in front of her desk, careful not to make a sound. My hands were sweating. I wiped them against my jeans without thinking. She turned around then. She was younger than I expected, maybe late 20s or early 30s. Her posture was perfect. Her suit was perfectly fitted. Not a wrinkle. Not a loose thread. Her eyes were dark, sharp, and observant, like she had already read my entire life in a few seconds. "You broke my brother's arm," she said. Not angry. Not emotional. Just a statement. I swallowed. "Yes," I said. "I'm really sorry. It was an accident. I wasn't looking where I was going, Anne." "I know," she interrupted. She walked to her desk and tapped something on a tablet. A video appeared on the large screen behind her. Security footage. The street corner. Me looking at my phone. Her brother walking calmly. The collision. The fall. The scream. She paused it. "I've reviewed the footage," she said. "You were careless, but not malicious." That word made my chest loosen slightly. Not malicious. She looked at me again. "My brother will recover. His injury is painful but not permanent." I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. "But," she continued, "the media must not find out about this." I nodded immediately. "I won't tell anyone. I swear." She studied me. Then she said something I wasn't expecting. "I believe you." That surprised me more than any threat could have. She closed the tablet. "For now, the legal department will handle the formalities. Compensation, insurance, silence agreements. You don't need to worry about that." I blinked. "You're not going to sue me?" She tilted her head slightly. "If I wanted to destroy you, you wouldn't be sitting here." That wasn't a threat. It was a fact. She walked around the desk and stood in front of me. "You're shaking," she said. I realized she was right. My knees were bouncing slightly. I stopped them with my hands. "Sorry," I muttered. She observed me for a moment. Then she said, "You don't look like someone who belongs on that street corner." I frowned. "I'm just a delivery guy." She looked at me carefully. "Were," she corrected. I looked up. "What?" She turned and walked back to her desk, sitting down this time. "I've decided to take responsibility for this situation." I didn't understand. "I already said I'll pay whatever I can," I said quickly. "Even if it takes years, This is not about money," she said. She folded her hands on the desk. I want you to work here. I stared at her. For a few seconds, I honestly thought I had misheard. Work here? Yes. At the gin group? Yes. I laughed nervously. That's not funny. I'm not joking. My heart started racing again. I'm not qualified. I didn't go to some elite university. I don't have experience in corporate stuff. I barely understand how half this world works. That's exactly why, she said. I looked at her, confused. Everyone here thinks the same way, talks the same way, acts the same way. She paused. I want someone who doesn't. She leaned forward slightly. I want someone who sees this place from the outside. I didn't know what to say. Why me? I asked quietly. She didn't answer immediately. She looked away for a moment, like she was choosing her words. Because you didn't run, she said. What? Most people would have tried to escape, to hide, to deny responsibility. She looked back at me. You stayed. You apologized. You were afraid, but you were honest. I had never heard someone describe me like that before. I'm not special, I said. No, she agreed. You're not. Then she added, that's what makes you useful. I didn't know whether to feel insulted or honored. I don't understand what you want me to do, I said. You'll start as my assistant, she said. Observe. Listen. Learn. Help when needed. She stood up again. Think of it as a test. A test for what? She smiled slightly. The first smile I had seen from her. And it wasn't warm. It was curious. To see if someone like you can survive in a place like this. I hesitated. This feels like a trap. She nodded. It is. She walked to the window again. But it's a fair one. I looked at the city outside. So high. So far away. So different from my world. What happens if I refuse? I asked. She didn't turn around. Nothing, she said. You'll go back to your life. The legal department will still handle the incident. But, she added calmly, you'll always wonder what would have happened if you stayed. She turned back to me. Curiosity is a stronger chain than fear. She was right. I hated that she was right. My chest felt tight. My mind raced. My instincts told me this was dangerous. My heart told me this was important. I need time to think, I said. She nodded. You have until tomorrow morning. I stood up. She walked me to the door. As I reached for the handle, she said, one more thing. I turned. Don't talk about this with anyone. I won't. Good, she said. Welcome to my world. I stepped out into the hallway. The door closed behind me. And I realized something. I hadn't escaped trouble. I had walked straight into something far bigger. And for some reason, a part of me wanted to see where it would lead. I accepted the offer the next morning. I didn't sleep much that night. My thoughts kept circling around her words, her eyes, that impossible building, and the strange sense that my life had been picked up and placed onto a different path without asking me first. By the time the sun came up, I already knew I wasn't going back to deliveries and late payments and invisible days. I didn't know what I was walking into, but I knew I was walking forward. When I arrived at the Gin Group headquarters again, everything felt different. The same walls, the same lights, the same quiet halls, but now I was inside them, not just visiting. I was given a temporary badge, a tablet, a simple desk near her office, and a list of instructions that mostly involved observing meetings, taking notes, and staying quiet. Jin Seon barely acknowledged me at first. She moved through her day like a machine. Meetings started and ended with precision. People spoke carefully around her, measuring every word. Even powerful executives seemed smaller in her presence. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't threaten. She simply asked questions that exposed weaknesses and forced decisions. Watching her was like watching someone play chess at a level I couldn't even see. And yet, she noticed everything. She noticed when I didn't understand a term and quietly sent me a definition on the tablet. She noticed when I stayed late and had food delivered to my desk without saying anything. She noticed when I was tired and told me to go home. She never explained why. She just did. It was strange. She was cold, yes, but not cruel. Efficient, but not careless. And lonely. That was the part that surprised me most. For all the power around her, there was no one close to her. No friends. No laughter. No warmth. Just work. One evening, I stayed later than usual. A meeting had run long, and by the time it ended the building was mostly empty. The lights were dimmed, the halls quieter than ever. I was packing my things when I heard music. Soft. Slow. A piano. It echoed gently through the hallways, completely out of place in such a cold, controlled environment. Curious, I followed the sound. It led me to a small room I hadn't seen before. Inside was a grand piano, black and glossy, and a girl sitting at it. She had long hair pulled loosely behind her, simple clothes, and a soft expression that made the whole room feel warmer just by her presence. Her fingers moved across the keys gently, like she was telling a story instead of playing notes. I stood there quietly, not wanting to interrupt. When she finished the piece, she turned and noticed me. "Oh," she said, surprised but not alarmed. "I didn't know anyone was still here." "I could say the same," I replied. She smiled. It wasn't a polite corporate smile. It was real. "I'm Mina," she said. "I play here sometimes. For events. Or when they need atmosphere." I laughed softly. "That makes sense. This place could use some atmosphere." She laughed too. The sound felt rare. We talked. About small things. Music. The building. How strange it felt to work in a place like this. She wasn't impressed by the gin group. She wasn't afraid of it either. She treated it like a stage, not a throne. She told me she loved playing in quiet places where people weren't listening for status or money, just for emotion. "It's different when someone actually feels the music," she said. I realized I was one of those people. I felt it. And I felt her. We started talking more after that. Sometimes during lunch. Sometimes in the evening. She would play, and I would listen. And for the first time since entering this world, I felt like I could breathe. One day, Jin Seon passed by while I was with Mina. She paused. Noticed us. Noticed the way Mina smiled. Noticed the way I smiled back. She didn't say anything. But her eyes stayed on us for a moment too long. Later that day, she called me into her office. "You seem happier," she said. I wasn't sure if that was an accusation or an observation. "I guess I am," I replied. She studied me. "Happiness can be distracting." I didn't respond. She didn't push further. But something changed after that. She started keeping me later. Asking me more questions. Inviting me to more meetings. Watching me more closely. It wasn't hostile. It was curious. Possessive. Maybe. I didn't know. All I knew was that two very different worlds were slowly pulling at me from opposite sides. One was quiet, warm, human. The other was powerful, cold, and endless. And I was standing right in the middle, without realizing how hard it would become to move in either direction. I thought I could balance both. I thought I could exist in both worlds. I was wrong. But I wouldn't understand that until it was already too late. The tension didn't arrive suddenly. It grew slowly, quietly, like a crack forming in glass that you only notice when the light hits it at the right angle. I started to feel it in the pauses. In the way Jin Seon would stop speaking when I entered a room. In the way Mina would hesitate before smiling, as if she was checking whether it was still safe to do so. In the way people around us became more careful, more observant. The building itself felt different. Heavier. I noticed that Jin Seon began calling me into her office more often, not for work, but for conversations that didn't have a clear purpose. She would ask what I thought about decisions, about people, about the company. At first, I was flattered. Then I was confused. Then I was uncomfortable. One evening, after another long day, she asked me to stay behind. The lights were dim again. The city outside her window glowed like a living map. "You're changing," she said. I leaned against the desk, unsure how to respond. "People change," I said carefully. "Not like this," she replied. She turned to face me. "You're becoming lighter." I almost laughed. That doesn't sound like a bad thing. She didn't smile. "It is, here." I watched her carefully. "You don't like that I'm not the same person you hired?" She looked at me for a long moment. "No," she said. "I don't like that you're becoming someone I can't predict." That honesty surprised me. "You want control," I said quietly. "Yes," she answered immediately. Then, after a pause, "I need it." Her voice softened just a little. "This world runs on control. On precision. On certainty." She looked out the window. "When I lose control, things fall apart." I thought about Mina. About music. About warmth. About how unpredictable feelings were. And how human. "That's not living," I said. She turned back to me sharply. "Living is a luxury," she said. "Not a necessity." Her words stayed with me. That same night, Mina asked me to walk her home. We walked through quieter streets, the city finally slowing down around us. "I feel like something is wrong," she said softly. "With me." "With everything," she said. "This place. The way people look at us. The way she looks at you." I didn't deny it. "She's powerful," Mina continued. "But she's lonely. And lonely people cling to what makes them feel less alone." I stopped walking. Mina stopped too. "I don't want to be part of a struggle," she said. "I just want something simple." I looked at her. Her eyes were honest. Tired. Hopeful. "I like you," she said. "But I won't fight someone for you." Her words hit harder than any accusation. "I don't want you to," I said. "Then what do you want?" she asked. I didn't have an answer yet. The next day, Jin Seon invited me to dinner. Not a meeting. Not a negotiation. Dinner. At a private restaurant on the top floor of a tower I didn't know existed. There were no other guests. Just us. She didn't talk about business. She talked about her childhood. About being trained to lead instead of being allowed to live. About how her brother had been protected, and she had been prepared. "I don't know how to be normal," she admitted quietly. "I don't know how to be warm." I realized then that she wasn't just controlling. She was afraid. Afraid of losing the only structure that had ever kept her safe. "I'm not trying to take anything from you," I said. "I just don't belong to this world." She looked at me like I had just told her I was leaving. "You belong where I put you," she said. Her voice wasn't angry. It was desperate. That scared me more than anger ever could. "I'm not something you can place," I said gently. Her eyes darkened. "Everyone is something that can be placed," she said. "We just pretend otherwise." I left the dinner early. The air felt heavy. The city felt wrong. I realized something that night. I was standing between two people who needed different versions of me. One needed me to stay warm. The other needed me to stay cold. And I couldn't be both without breaking. So something had to end. I just didn't know yet how much it would hurt. Or who it would hurt most. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was afraid. But because I finally understood. Every choice I had avoided was now standing in front of me, demanding an answer. I watched the city lights from my window fade into morning, and with them faded the illusion that I could stay in the middle forever. By the time I went to the Jin Group building for the last time, I was calm. Not confident. Not happy. Just calm. I walked through the halls slowly, memorizing things I never thought I would miss. The sound of quiet footsteps. The hum of elevators. the way the light reflected off the glass walls. I knocked on Jin Seon's office door. "Come in." She was standing by the window again. Of course she was. "I need to talk to you," I said. She turned, looked at my face, and understood immediately. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "This is not a discussion," she said. "It is," I replied. "It's just not one you control." That made her tense. I had never seen her tense before. "I'm leaving," I said. The words felt strange. "But right." "You can't," she said quietly. "I already have," I said. She stared at me. "You're making a mistake." "Maybe," I said. "But it's mine." She took a step toward me. "You think warmth will protect you?" she asked. "You think feelings will save you when the world turns cruel?" "No," I said. "I think being cold will destroy me before the world ever does." Her jaw tightened. "You're choosing weakness." "I'm choosing humanity." She was silent. Then she laughed softly. A hollow sound. "You think I'm not human?" "I think you're afraid to be," I said gently. Her eyes flickered. Just for a second. Pain. Anger. Fear. All at once. "I gave you everything," she said. "You gave me a place," I said. "Not a life." She looked away. That was when I saw it. Not the Ice Queen. Not the CEO. Just a woman who had never been chosen for anything other than responsibility. "I don't know how to be what you want," she said. "I don't either," I replied. "And that's why I have to go." She nodded slowly. Then she straightened her posture. Rebuilt her armor. "Then go," she said. "You were always temporary." The words were sharp. But her eyes were tired. I bowed slightly. Not as an employee, but as a person saying goodbye. "Thank you," I said, "for what you taught me." I turned and walked out. No guards stopped me. No alarms rang. No doors closed behind me. The world didn't collapse. It just continued. Outside, the air felt warmer, messier, alive. Mina was waiting for me on the steps. She wasn't smiling. She was nervous. Like she didn't know whether to hope. "I left," I said. Her breath caught. "You don't have to stay with me," I added. "I didn't leave for you. I left for me." She nodded. "I know," she said. That was why I liked her. We walked together. No destination. Just forward. The city felt different when I wasn't running. We passed street musicians. Children playing. People arguing and laughing and living. It felt loud. And imperfect. And right. Days passed. Then weeks. Then months. I found work that paid less but gave more. Time. Space. Peace. Mina played in small cafes and theaters. I listened. Sometimes we talked. Sometimes we didn't. There was no pressure. No control. Just presence. One day, I read an article. Jin Seon had led a massive corporate merger. Her photo was on the front page. Strong. Untouchable. Perfect. Just like before. But now I saw something different behind her eyes. Not cold. Focused. She had chosen her world too. And that was okay. Not every story ends with people changing. Some end with people understanding. Understanding who they are. And who they are not. Breaking the heir's arm was never the real turning point. That was just noise. Just chaos. The real break was inside me. The moment I realized that a powerful life and a meaningful life are not the same thing. And that choosing yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. I didn't become rich. I didn't become famous. I didn't become important. I became honest. And that was enough. Because in a world that constantly tells you to be more, sometimes the bravest thing you can be is exactly who you are.